We are human beings, and reaching harmony is an ongoing challenge for our souls. It is an incessant bid to grasp what secrets the universe is hiding from us. It is a search, unfortunately often an unwitting one, for our inner sun, that light from which we are made, that flames that burns brightly inside us, that music with perfect mathematical proportions that expands in everything. We have been discussing the presence and or absence of order, harmony, and beauty in our universe for several thousand years. The finest minds in metaphysics in both the West and East have developed countless fascinating theories in an attempt to provide us with a convincing interpretation of the nature of the cosmos, a take that seizes upon its real essence. This has given rise to innumerable visions of the world that come together and clash, contradicting each other, and these very often leave us feeling uncertain, consumed by doubt, and dumbfounded by just how unfathomable everything is. And when it comes to the ultimate meaning of things, the sense and destiny of human existence and nature as a whole, even in the complex world we live in today, Theosophical thinking has proved to be relevant as ever, with its faith in human nature's potential for evolution. It urges us to keep fanning the inner flame of the values of the spirit and to continue to hope and work towards a world that is free from discrimination and injustice, and finally blessed by the advent of universal brotherhood. The cornerstone of theosophy is knowledge of nature and of the sacred laws that guide it. In nature, it is not hard to find harmony and beauty, or identify the cycles of life and the depictions of the divine. Since the start of manifestation, the Logos breathed life into the cosmos, infusing all creatures with the sacred melody, the fundamental chord of all creation. It is what Pythagoras called the music of the spheres. And this music resounds in all things, from a flower to the most distant star. It is the harmony of all existence and the law of perfect balance mentioned in letter number 22 by Master K.H. in the Mahatma Letters, Volume 1. Geoffrey Hodgson tells us about this marvelous process and the creation of these sacred harmonies in his Light of the Sanctuary, and I quote, "And so a wonderful gateway opened into realms of light. Daily entering that gateway, I became aware of the great ocean of the life and force and soul of the universe, and the vast company of angelic hosts, the shining ones, all engaged in the creation of a celestial symphony with the Logos as the divine composer. And great beings who assimilate the mighty creative chords in their primordial potency and re-echo them through all their ranks, from the highest spiritual worlds to the realm of everlasting archetypes. These are the great sound forms, upon which and by which the universe is modeled according to the divine idea. The music of the creative song passes through the lower worlds to where man responds to it, perceiving it as the varied forms of nature. Thus, continues Geoffrey Hodgson, it seemed to me that when the master musician enunciates the great theme for his solar system, a mighty paean sounds forth in answer for the innumerable celestial beings. From and through them, as the sounds of myriads of harps touched by immortal hands, this music pours forth to create, to shape the material universe. It is a beautiful kind of presentation of this word. we can really imagine in his words. Well, according to Marsilio Ficino, the great Neoplatonic philosopher of the Florentine Renaissance, the harmonious movement of the planets and stars secretly influences the spirit on a daily basis. However, at present, much of mankind is afflicted by what Freud called the discontents of civilization. And it is true that a sense of uneasiness can be noted in many people behind the seemingly untroubled and normal facade. Yet, Master K.H. tells us that harmony is inside all of us, because the Logos has infused all creatures with it. Harmony is a word that evokes happiness, a joyful life, a state in which everything is perfectly attuned. And all of this is nicely summed up by the Japanese kanji wa, which means harmony, absolute peace, and unity. The ideograph wa is also found in the word niwa, which means meekness, tenderness, gentleness. Wa is a core concept in Japanese culture, and harmony is part of all aspects of life in the country. Japan teaches us that it takes hard work to build harmony. You need to keep striving to be a better person and learn to be patient, avoid conflict, and ignore negativity with a self-sacrificing spirit. You must also do things with care, and this can bring incredible opportunities for meditation and greater awareness in everything we do. But never do things that are detrimental to others, because the pursuit of truly sustainable happiness must involve everyone and not just one person. Japanese people prefer to promote harmony for the whole community rather than their own personal interests. Same can't be said of our individualistic Western culture, which drives people apart. HBB also had some important words to say about harmony. She stated that the universe and everything in it is built on a law of equilibrium and harmony, based on balance between opposites. This is only possible from a neutral point of view. So, everything should be done with the sense of detachment if we want everyone to benefit. Blavatsky also reminds us that in the secret doctrine, she reminds us that everything in the universe is in us too. Rather poetically, she tells us that we need to find a song in our hearts, and in the hearts of all beings, and the hearts of all beings in our hearts. We need to find people in our hearts. Furthermore, she stresses that we will miss the soul of things if we don't pay attention to what we have deep inside us. And, I'm sorry. While the divine melody is a soundless sound, HBB tells us that we must train ourselves to sense it on a daily basis in order to find the oneness of all. And if we practice every day attuning ourselves to the great symphony of which we are part, if we practice every day, we will be capable of contributing to the playing of the divine melody, the sublime song in its fullness. Sublime is an adjective that does not just apply to poets and artists. It is something that each of us is sure to have experienced at least once in our lives. We must be careful not to see it as something abnormal. We must be careful not to consider it as something abnormal or a sort of dream, because the sublime offers us glimpses of the real life in the true sense of term. It is ordinary existence that is actually abnormal, or as someone once described it, subnormal. Experiences of this kind show us that we can postulate a better, happier, and much bigger life than the one we are used to, than the one which we are accustomed. And while they may be fleeting and flawed, these moments of inspiration reveal what we can achieve. While it is true that human beings are only half awake or half asleep, depending on how we choose to look at it, this is something much bigger than they are used to experiencing. But how can we help? How can we contribute to wake them up? Human beings often fail to perceive the divine spark that dwells within them. They are not capable of evoking the sublime song of the soul amid the whirlwind of emotions and the conflicts in the heart. But Just as an orchestra combines many tones to produce an enchanting harmony, together our hearts can initiate and spread the sublime harmony, that song that is the real life. To do this, it is also necessary to have a common goal, a shared idea that we have, and it must be something inspiring and to which people aspire, something sublime that can elevate all of humankind, like the song of life, which brings perfect joy and sublime harmony. To find the key to harmony, human beings must go on a long journey, which is often very different for each of them. Harmony is a vibratory level on different planes, and it follows a sublime path from spirit to shape and then matter, which is behind the origins of our solar system. Spirit and matter are two sides of the same coin, two situations that are intrinsically harmonious. Wisdom, in my opinion, means comprehending the bond between the two entities that we normally keep apart, but that are only seemingly different. This separation holds back our spiritual evolution, impeding our perception of the sublime vibratory harmony that is inherent in every passage. The factor that unites these journeys is love, the highest vibratory plane of sublime harmony, which makes it possible to bring together beauty, wisdom, and consciousness of or knowledge of the vibratory plane on which we are at the moment and the journey we are taking. We can find a precious help finding sublime harmony in the Light on the Path by Mabel Collins, who urges us to do as follows. Listen to the song of life. Store in your memory the melody you hear. Learn from it the lesson of harmony. Look for it and listen to it first in your own heart. At first, you may say, it is not there. When I search, I find only discord. Look deeper. If again you are disappointed, pause and look deeper again. There is a natural melody, an obscure font in every human heart. It may be hidden over and utterly concealed and silenced, but it is there. He that chooses evil refuses to look within himself, shuts his ears to the melody of his heart, as he blinds his eyes to the light of his soul. He does this because he finds it easier to live in desires. And so deceptive is the illusion in which you live, continues Mabel Collins, that it is hard to guess where you will first detect the sweet voice in the hearts of others. But know that it is certainly within yourself. Look for it there, and once having heard it, you will more readily recognize it around you. So find it in yourself to recognize it around ourselves. She continues, standing thus, cool and awakened, use the hearing you have acquired by pain and by the destruction of pain. Only fragments of the great song come to your ears, while yet you are but men. But if you listen to it, remember it faithfully, so that none which has reached you is lost, and endeavor to learn from it the meaning of the mystery which surrounds us, surrounds you. In time, you will need no teacher, for as the individual has voice, so has that in which the individual exists. Life itself has speech and is never silent, and its utterance is not, as you that are deaf may suppose, a cry. It is a song. Learn from it that you are part of the harmony. Learn from it to obey the laws of the harmony. And she continues saying that we have to regard earnestly all the life that surrounds us. Learn to look intelligently into the hearts of men. Regard most earnestly our own hearts. For through our own hearts come the one light which can illuminate life and make it clear to our eyes. Study the hearts of men, that you may know that it is that world in which you live and of which you will to be a part. Regard the constantly changing and moving life which surrounds you, for it is formed by the hearts of men. Life is the hearts of men. And as you learn to understand their constitution and meaning, you will by degree be able to read the larger world of life. It's amazing. It's really sort of uplifting way of living life, living our relationships. And she continues saying, speech comes only with knowledge. Attain to knowledge, and you will attain to speech. These words of Mabel Collins are deeply true, clear, encouraging, and inspiring. I consider this book an invaluable guide. Well, seeking the sublime song of life in our hearts by cultivating silence and letting our thoughts flow can lead to an extraordinary change taking place within us. A change which comes without our will, without asking. And in that change, great beauty and depth of insight will be found. So it is recommended not listening through our projections, ambitions, desires, fears, and so forth. Instead, to set aside all screens that prevent us from really listening. And this needs a real continuous awareness, attention. And in order to do this, and first and foremost, really listen to ourselves, there needs to be calmness and a state of watchful passiveness within us. However, the majority of us are too busy achieving goals and attaining results to seek a little inner silence and keep the mirror of the mind clean so it is open to everything that comes forth from it. Through our senses, we look at and listen to or touch things. We project our consciousness outward. It is done through our senses. And as we do so, we cover it with judgment, with the emotions that build up on top of each other and act like a veil, preventing us from perceiving the real nature of things. Consequently, we don't see people and things for what they are, but we observe our consciousness in the way in which it covered the objects in question. Rather than directly looking at objects or people, we look at ourselves. Our consciousness will no longer be projected outwards onto the things being observed. Instead, it will observe the act of looking. But if we stick to this approach, we will gradually stop passing judgment. Similarly, focusing on breathing or walking can take our minds off thoughts, emotions, and everything else running through them. So, the mental continuum can make way for empty spaces between one thought and the next. The center of consciousness will naturally move into these spaces, and everything that emerges from these empty, silent spaces in the mind is pure, just, harmonious, and beautiful. This is important to understand that all of the positive qualities of the mind, such as peace and harmony, are an integral part of our real nature, because being aware of these enables us to face any difficulties in life with greater equanimity, acknowledging that all mental anguish and all problems are inherently transitory. The discord and violence all around us also play their part in driving us away from the sublime song of life. Even if we are good enough not to play any active part in them, no matter how obvious or subtle it might be, violence and discord cause us to suffer immensely. This is true whether we are on the receiving end of them or if we simply witness them. It can be dangerous to fail to understand them and the profound reasons that caused them to arise and break out. It is dangerous to fail to look at them from a broader perspective, even simply as a philosophical speculation. After all, if we don't accept discord and violence, and please note that I'm not saying we must justify them. Indeed, we must do everything we can to oppose them, especially all forms of abuse against women, children, defenseless people, and so on. If we don't also accept this dark side of existence, we are not accepting life, because it is part of it. However, by looking at the things in this twofold way, we would continue to have a dual outlook, dividing the world and ourselves into friends and enemies, good and bad. We, too, are part of that violence and discord. For For instance, take wars. At the end of the day, it is the human beings who make wars. It is people with thousands of different stories. They suffer and go through endless horrors or perpetrate them, perhaps led to do so by circumstances bigger than them, or by karmic bonds, or by some inner impulse that it is hard to imagine. Human beings that act in this way probably don't understand the spiritual consequences for themselves or the community. Human affairs are so complicated. Well, but if we actually think about it properly, we can find that there is probably a lot more that is beautiful and sacred than we are capable to perceive. And when I say this, Krishnamurti springs up to my mind. With his infinite poetic spirit, he would describe the love that stemmed simply from contemplating nature. It is said that this world would not exist if evil surpassed good. So, rather than meaninglessly talking about hypothetical peace, in my opinion, we should start becoming attuned, learning, and getting to grips with the mechanisms that drive the evolution of the universe and therefore our own evolution. We can do this through in-depth study of Theosophy, which helps us to feel profoundly that everything is perfect because it is part of a plan conceived to take everything and everyone back to the absolute and to perceive the unity between us all. Just as people who don't have dirty minds don't get rude jokes, a time will come when we will only see the great law of life in action. We will grasp the depth and true value of everything that happens, the unavoidability of every sorrow, and the appropriateness of what occurs for the greater good of everyone. Because compassion will triumph over the so-called good and bad. Because enemies don't exist. They are our greatest masters. Therefore, our actions to defend those who cannot defend themselves shall be impeccable, and they shall not be impulsive, no matter how necessary, just and sacrosanct they may be. It is our duty to cultivate compassion, not just for ourselves, but for all creation. We cannot think in terms of violence and peace, but in terms of compassion. I believe that if peace is the polar opposite of violence, compassion encompasses them both. Compassion is not a luxury for just a few hearts, but the way, and the only one we have. One of its many great qualities is that it is wonderfully infectious. It is a vibrant hub of pure energy that expands and spreads everywhere. And when I think about compassion, my thoughts turn to all the angelic hosts, which, out of compassion for humanity, pour on earth their benedictions, their spiritual light, healing rays, teachings, help, and so on. The beneficial effects of their healing grace upon sufferers, their inspiration to all people of goodwill are essential in our evolutionary path. We are, so to say, their son. We are the product of their help in a way. Certain of them are ordained to be associated with humanity in the fulfillment of the divine purpose. And there will be a time when brotherhood would really be established among the humans of our earth, along with the companionship, a cooperation, a genuine brotherhood between the angels and mankind. And this is again Geoffrey Hodgson. He offers us a lot of inspiring quotes on this theme, of course, and you can see the pictures too I chose from his The Kingdom of the Gods. The wonderful possibility of this future collaboration is a fantastic opportunity, even if angels cannot, in this age, become physically discernible, not to the mass, of course. They are anyway ever present, and so ever available. And we must try to always remember this. Let us commit ourselves, or our small selves, to deeply understand the big plan, capital letters, learning to perceive its vastness and depth, his necessity and indulgence. As I said, Theosophy is essential on this front, in my eyes at least, and Brother Bernier made it very clear just how important it is to understand and put into practice Theosophical lessons if we want to act in the interests of all beings. And I quote her everlasting words. Theosophy is not a kind of empty philosophy or a new sect or religion, but as something to do with learning about life and the realization of its beauty and its meaning. Those who work according to this purpose are a light that irradiates friendship and harmony, kindness and love towards all. If what we are studying does not change the quality of our relationships and attitudes, then there is something missing in our way of understanding Theosophy. I think that when our hearts are pure, all we have is awareness of the one life that breathes in every being of the universe. And when we reach that point, we shall have but one desire, that is to be consciously united with this one life and do its will. We should try to show at the people who approach our groups, and others, of course, people in our everyday life, that they have within them the ineffable glory of the inner divinity. It is important that people make aware of this ineffable glory of the inner divinity, this God living in each of our hearts. No rituals or formal celebrations are required to learn this lesson. Geoffrey Hodgson fills us with hope when he foresees that the time will come when once again the gods will walk with men. And he says that for that day, men must prepare. ugliness must be banished, war outlawed, brotherhood must reign, beauty must be enshrined in human hearts and revealed through human lives. Then, to a humanity united in one fraternity, the gods will draw near, reveal their immortal loveliness, and lend their aid in building a new world, a new temple in which all men may perceive and adore the Supreme as beauty. Well, friends, we Theosophists have a task of the utmost importance to perform, a fundamental and vital contribution to give to the development of all that lives. And let us never forget all the angelic hosts and that majestic and saved beings that stand beside us in building a new world. Not to mention, of course, our beloved and ever-present masters of the wisdom. If we think about it, we can easily deduce that we are in a very privileged and honored company. So, friends, let us realize the beauty of life and its sublime song right here and now. Let us become ambassadors of light and beauty. Thanks.